why I love Model UN. Perfect. Yeah. And so me and my team, just kind of great people, it's a great environment. It's really nice to kind of like have a group to be with at school and to travel with. And so, yeah, just a couple pictures of us together and then us winning best large delegation at Chicago Model UN, so CHO-MUN. And so really great experience overall. I'm happy with the time I've done in Model UN. I might not have been a Model UN person in high school because my high school didn't have a team, but I'm super glad I joined it in college. So I guess that's a little bit about me and my Model UN experience. So you might be asking yourself, oh my, Desiree, I still don't know what Model UN is. Well, that's great. I'll answer that question. So basically, Model UN is like, wow, it's a lot. Wait, I have a whole official little spiel that I have in like the speaker notes I need to pull out. But anyways, so Model UN, like just in general, is debate, and it's really about collaboration and learning how to work with others and how to navigate real world problems within kind of the confines of high school and college. And so Model UN is an opportunity to not only kind of expand your debate skills and what you know about certain like current events and what's going on in the world, but also it's an ability to showcase your leadership abilities, your ability to collaborate, how well you work with others, and different things like that. That's the unofficial, like, what is Model UN? Of course, there's more like official definitions online, but what I really think it's a lot of people who care about international relations kind of gathering together and trying to solve the problems that we have today. And so that, like, in essence, is what Model UN is. And if you have more questions, I can answer that later. But you might be asking yourself, okay, Desiree, why should I join Model UN? That's a great question. So why do you join a Model UN team? Well, first of all, believe it or not, we have a bunch of fun. I think you could tell from the photos I kind of showed earlier. I love my team. It's really just been a fabulous experience and a lot more fun than I think anybody really anticipates. So you have a lot of fun when you're in Model UN. You make friends from different schools and even countries. So it's a great way to branch out, to meet people you never thought you would have met like before. A lot of the friends I have now are from the Model UN circuit, and they attend different schools. It's people from like UCLA, people from Stanford, people from Yale, people who I wouldn't have had the chance to interact with before if not for Model UN. And so that's really great. And also meeting people from different countries. A lot of the friends I have now are international, and I've also met them through Model UN. And it's just a great experience to kind of expand your outreach. And so highly, highly recommend. It's also really important for learning communication skills. So through Model UN, you kind of learn how to effectively convey your ideas, how to, just be a leader in whatever sphere that you end up being in, how to really craft solutions to the problems that we're facing today. So you learn a lot of communication skills, and you have a lot of opportunities to practice public speaking and different things like that when you're in Model UN. So that's also really good. You develop a portfolio of experience and skills that are really good for future educational and career goals, specifically if you are planning on applying to a competitive college. A lot of colleges like to see that you've kind of put yourself out there in some way, whether that be debate, Model UN, mock trial, those kind of things. Model UN is a great way to show colleges like, hey, I really care about real world issues. I'm very passionate about international relations, and look at, like, I've put myself out there and have learned how to kind of be a leader within this kind of sphere. And so really great for college applications if you plan on applying. And then you also just join a really large community. A lot of people know of Model UN. They've either done Model UN in middle school, high school, college. They've heard about it through some way, shape, or form. And so it's a very large community that you get to be a part of, and really an easy way to connect with other people once you bring up that, oh, hey, I compete in Model UN. Some could be like, oh, I don't compete now, but I used to compete. And so it's a great topic for conversation. So Model UN team, you might be asking yourself, okay, Desiree, I'm hooked. Model UN sounds awesome. Why Princeton Learning Experience? So I'm just going to give you a brief little rundown of like past awards, performances, things that we can do, things that we can help with, and that kind of thing. So a lot of this is just like words on a screen, but these are some of the past awards we've gotten. So you can see, actually, I'm going to go back. You can see we've gotten things from HMUN, which is Harvard's like high school conference, and I'll talk more about that later. Things at YMUN, so that's Yale's conference. Cameron will talk a little bit more about that later. UPenn, Michigan State, Columbia. Let's see what else is here. I know George Washington, I think, is on here, University of California, Irving. And so this might look like a lot of words on a screen to you right now, but basically what this is trying to showcase is we're good. We've won a lot of delegates from PLE have won a lot of awards in the past. Like, we're known to be excellent in what we do. And like, this is me showing you why we are so excellent. And so basically what PLE can offer is a history of excellence as showcased by the award information we had, experienced coaches from competitive Model UN teams and Ivy League schools. So like I said, I'm the head delegate for Harvard's team. I've only been doing Model UN for 2 years, but I can assure you I've competed many a times more than I think many other delegates have. So very experienced, personalized classes that help students, didn't mean to do that, to help set up students for success, instruction and practice in MUN related skills. So this is more than just international relations. This is public speaking. This is learning how to collaborate. This is a lot of skills that you're going to need either in the workplace or beyond, or whatever sphere kind of you want to insert yourself into later in life. Model UN really helps with a lot of these things. If you feel like, I feel like you might not believe it, but I used to be quite an introvert. I feel like Model UN helps with learning how to put yourself out there, learning how to develop different kinds of ideas and really get to know people in a small amount of time. And so if you're a little bit on the introverted side, like I think I was a couple of years ago, definitely Model UN can help with that. Even if you're an extrovert, it's just a great way to practice your communication skills, learning how to just form connections with other people. We have entry and advanced tracks for students that I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on later. But essentially, we have it all. Whether you're a beginner in Model UN, whether you've been doing Model UN in middle school, in high school, anything like that, whether whatever experience that you come from or that you may have, PLE really can help you develop your skills. So like, we are here for all kinds of students. So the next couple of slides are just going to be pictures of like kind of students in action, which you might have seen if you saw kind of like our like form for the summer programs. But these are some of the students competing, I believe, in the Princeton Model UN conference. Some students competing, I'm not sure which conference this is, but there's some PLE students here. And typically Model UN conferences, little side note, are in person, but we've had a lot of like Zoom online ones, obviously because of COVID and things like that. So there's a lot of online conferences that we've been competing in. And so here's some comments for what parents had to say about PLE. So we have one is like, thank you for providing high quality courses to the students. We have another that's like, during the epidemic, student was very happy to be competing in MUN, lots of learning opportunities that you might not have in your local area. Like I said, my high school didn't have a Model UN team. I wish I wish I knew I could compete online, perhaps with another team and get involved earlier on, but I couldn't. And so PLE is like a great opportunity to do that, especially if your school doesn't offer a Model UN team. And just, yeah, there's a lot of other parent comments I did not put on here, but great things are being said about our program. So here's a little dive into the summer Model UN programs that we offer. And so we have our entry course, which is really, I think it's like an intermediate kind of level. It's an introduction to MUN, conference prep, current events. I'm going to expand more into all of this kind of later. We have an advanced course, which goes more into like US foreign policy, global security, looking at crisis. And then we have obviously our intro classes divided by middle school and high school. So this is really what you need to know. This might look like a bit complicated at first. I'll go through this with you. So basically on the left here, there's 4 different sessions that you can take kind of the courses for. Each of these are 2 weeks long, and I believe have 10 lessons a piece. And so you see session 1 starts in June. Yeah, I know which month number 6 is apparently. So June to July. And then we have July, and then August. And so the classes in yellow are going to be your middle school courses, and the classes in blue are going to be your high school courses, I think. Or no, never mind. The classes in yellow are all the intro courses. That's what it was. And so you can see here we have MS is middle school, HS is high school. You can see what kind of grades it's for, what times these classes are going to be. So it'll be every day during this 2-week period. And then you can see kind of the sessions, how they're divided up and what their topics are going to be. It's like session 1, obviously, is the intro of Model UN for entry level, and then US foreign policy and parliamentary debate for high school level. And so in these next couple of slides, I believe I'm going to go into specifically what encompasses each of these classes, but just know, I believe that you could, like, it's flexible. You could take whatever classes you want. I'm pretty sure you could take them by session, ? If you're busy some of the days. Yes. So you can do specific sessions if like, you're like, oh, Desiree, I have like this nice vacation to Hawaii planned during session 2. Okay, awesome. You can do like 1, 3, and 4, whichever ones you think suit your needs. So this is like the master sheet, Holy Grail. You don't need to like know it too well, but in case you want to see all the classes that we offer, all the topics that we offer and things like that, this is a pretty good graphic to look at. So our Model UN intro course, basically it's just an introduction overview of Model UN, an introduction to Model UN rules, procedures, public speaking, research, position papers, working papers, resolutions, amendments, and a simulation. So this might be a lot of words that you don't understand because maybe you have like no Model UN experience, but basically this is going to cover everything that you need to know before entering a committee, before competing, before joining. Like if you have a high school team and you are thinking of joining that, this kind of gives you the most brief, but also comprehensive overview of everything you'll need to know if you want to get involved in Model UN. So that's our intro course. We have a course on current events. So again, it starts kind of with public speaking and speech writing. It gets into doing topic introductions, mods and unmods, which is a Model UN term, reading articles and how you're supposed to research, how you write resolutions, knowing terminology and procedure, class logistics and research policy and techniques, a lot of other things that you'll need to know to kind of know all you need to know about current events. If you're like me and you don't really keep up with the news too much, this can be a very helpful class. Crisis is a specific type of Model UN you'll get to learn about if you take any of the courses that we offer, but a lot of it is learning how to speak, debate, and argue persuasively. So the core parts really of Model UN, so effective communication, effective collaboration, knowing how to be a leader in any sphere that kind of you're in. And so that's part of the stuff that's reflected in this course, as well as being really centered towards, if you know what a crisis committee is, learning how to really handle those. And so leadership, if you are someone who's trying to chair a conference, maybe you're trying to get more involved in your school's Model UN team, maybe you're the president, maybe your school hosts like a conference for middle school students, this can be a really helpful class for you. Just knowing how to kind of write a background guide, choose a topic, maybe things that you didn't know before, and getting prepared to either host your own Model UN conference or just be someone with a leadership capabilities on your team. This could be a really good course for you. Crisis historical simulation. So this is just another type of Model UN activity that you can do. So my briefest of briefest rundowns is there's 3 different types of committees you can really be in Model UN. We call it the General Assembly, which is what I think you would probably expect if you envision Model UN. So very formal, like what are the current topics that we are facing in the world today? And what are we going to do either as like the World Health Organization, the World Trade Organization, as like all these different committees that are in the United Nations, what are we going to do to kind of solve it? But then there's also crisis and crisis historical, or I guess historical committees is what I would call it. So historical committees is really going to go over like things like the American Revolution, the fall of the Berlin Wall, China versus Taiwan. So major historical events that have happened in the past that are likely to be brought up at Model UN conferences. So that's what that class is kind of covering. Next we have our global security class. So this is really just like, it's global security. I think the name speaks for itself. But if you need to know a little bit more about, I don't know, like ethnic conflicts, nuclear deterrence, these are also very common topics that will be brought up in Model UN. This is a really good class to take for that. And finally, a large part of Model UN is like parliamentary debate. It's kind of the foundation. It's learning Parli Pro. It's learning, I guess, just kind of how to build your argument, how to refute logical fallacies, that kind of thing. And this class is really good for taking a deep dive into that. So let's see. Also foreign policy. We have a lot of classes, apparently, more than I was expecting. Foreign policy. So as I said, really just looking into foreign policy. I think what you're supposed to get from me showcasing all of this to you is really just that we have a bunch of classes to offer. We have a lot of things that you can learn. And regardless of where you are, introduction, entry, intermediate, I'm sure there's a class that's going to cover something that you feel like you kind of need to brush your skills up on, you're not as comfortable with, and we can offer that to you. So research and writing. Yes, next, I'm kind of going to go into one of the conferences we're doing over the summer. So HMUN China. So this is the conference that Harvard hosts traditionally in China. Obviously, because of COVID-19, we can't go this year. And so it's going to be online. So PLE will be sending a delegation to HMUN China for 2022. So you can see it's kind of it's class 60. It's for high school students. So if you're in grades, I think it should be 9 to 12 instead of 8 to 12. But we'll see. Actually, I guess if you just complete your 8th grade year, you're technically a high schooler. You're good. You're living. And so, and these are the times that they're going to meet. Basically, HMUN China, before I get into like the committees and stuff like that, it's obviously like Harvard's like high school conference, very prestigious on the circuit. Typically like an award from HMUN in general, or HNMUN or HMUN China is worth a lot. And so it's a really good experience because a lot of students, especially international students, will be competing because it kind of, I don't know, it's just well known on the circuit. This year, I'm going to be one of the chairs for HMUN China. So I'm actually going to be chairing the World Health Organization for the General Assembly. So if you plan on competing at HMUN China and I'm your chair, I'm going to pretend I don't know you, but it will be great. And so some of the committees that they offer is things that the UN would offer. So like the legal committee, a futuristic General Assembly, the World Health Organization, a historical General Assembly. And then you have things like the United Nations Children's Fund. We have something for the Organization of American States, National Scientific, Educational, Scientific, Cultural Organization. So essentially, if there's some topic that you're interested in, typically there will be a committee that fits that topic, fits that, like whatever it is, whatever passion it is that you have. And so, as you can see from here, there's a lot of different committees that you could join if you decide to compete at HMUN China. So, and I highly recommend it. I think it's a really good experience. You can meet a lot of international students, especially since it's going to be online. And yeah, it's just a fabulous conference overall. I'm not biased at all as one of the directors. Fabulous conference. And so this is going to be the HMUN China kind of the conference schedule. So please note that the times are convenient, whether you live in the US or whether you live in China. So if you're an international student zooming in from China, or if you're a student here in the US, like hopefully these time zones accommodate all. I think that was kind of the goal our secretary generals were going for. But yeah, regardless of where you're zooming in from, hopefully these time zones are somewhat convenient. And so really you just have for Model UN an opening ceremony to kind of get to know the conference. And then you have your committee sessions where you're actually competing, followed by, I don't know if you can see the bottom, but there should be some kind of closing ceremony there where they eventually present awards. And so this is the HMUN China schedule. You can find it also on the HMUN China website, because I know it's kind of grainy because I screenshotted it here, but yeah, HMUN China website, perfect place to kind of look into that more if you want to see if it's convenient for your schedule. So yes, that was me speeding through all of our Summer MUN programs on HMUN China. If you have any questions, I can take them now. You can also contact info@ple.us or visit our website. But I'd be happy to answer questions either about Model UN, HMUN China, any of our summer programs now. And you can just raise your Zoom hand if you have a question. Or if you need me to read, I realize I'm speaking very quickly. If I went over a part and you're like, Desiree, I did not catch what you were saying, I can also re-go over it.
Okay, for those of you have questions but did not have convenience to ask questions now, and you can send the information to email and we will respond to you through email and in writing.
Okay, awesome, sounds good. I'm going to pass it off to Cameron to talk a little bit about YMUN. So Yale's less equivalent HMUN.
Thanks so much, Desiree. I beg to differ, and I'll tell you all the reasons why YMUN, Yale Model UN, is the best conference. But before that, I'll introduce myself. I'm just going to share my screen for a second. Sorry, my air conditioning. Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Cameron. I go by Cam for most people, Janssens. I'm originally from New York City and am a junior, a rising junior at Yale. So my majors at Yale are history and political science, and I also study Chinese. And so the reason how sort of Model UN fits into what I'm interested in is that it really was the reason why I'm passionate about American foreign policy, and especially, you know, some of the PLE foreign policy classes that Desiree was talking about were really appealing to me. And if I was like a student, I would love to take those. And so maybe excited to teach some of them. And so I'm really interested in how we can use that as a tool to protect human rights and dignity around the world. And that's, you know, a big thread, a theme that you'll find in Model UN conferences, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. In terms of my Model UN experience, so I have been doing Model UN since 9th grade in high school. And so what I really like about co-presenting with Desiree is I think that together we cover every single possible Model UN experience out there. So I, you know, I competed in high school. I don't compete in college, but in college I help run and do more administrative stuff on the administrative side of like the Yale Model United Nations Conference. And so between both of us, I think just like the experiences, you know, reflect how passionate we are about it and also just how great of an opportunity it was. And so at YMUN, like I mentioned, I served as the Director General of Committees in 2020, the first year that we had to go online. And I've also, you know, chaired at a lot of different conferences like Harvard. Yale also has like a Yale Taiwan conference and a bunch of international conferences, as well as a college one that I've chaired at. And it has also been a great experience to sort of give me another look into like the world of Model UN. And so here are a couple pictures of me from high school. It was a really long time ago, but this is at Princeton Model United Nations Conference, which PLE does send students to. So it's been really cool to, you know, having competed at Princeton and won an award. I think I went all 4 years of high school. It's been really cool to see the other end of it and, you know, help prepare PLE students to hopefully win awards and just have a really good time at Princeton's conference. And so these are just a couple pictures. Like Desiree mentioned, the General Assembly is sort of this big room with a lot of delegates in sort of more formal debate. And that's what you can see in the bottom right. And then the top right is one of the more informal, they call them resolution writing sessions outside of committee during unmoderated caucuses. And as you can just see, like, yes, it is a very academic and rigorous experience, but also, you know, it's fun and you get to like sit with people who you didn't know 2 days ago, who you've spent all this time with and really begun to like build a community and make friends. And I still have friends from Model UN in high school, which is kind of funny that we didn't go to high school together. Some of them lived, you know, in different places across the country, in different countries. And some of them I do stay in contact with. Some of them I go to school with. So it's just really funny how it often comes full circle. And now I'm teaching at these conferences, which is really cool. And so now I wanted to talk a little bit, I know Desiree touched on it, why I am such a huge believer in Model UN. I think regardless is if you want to eventually end up in some sort of career or like profession that is somehow related to international relations or foreign policy, I think it's by far the best activity you can do in high school for whatever you want to do. I think that it is so valuable for public speaking skills and writing skills. The ability to, from Model UN, I learned how to speak on the spot, the ability to come up with something in my head and deliver it to a room of people in under 30 seconds. I think that is not talked about enough as a useful skill in like the real world. And I find myself, you know, doing that in meetings, when I'm meeting with my professors or in class, when I want to say something. I always sort of draw on that confidence that Model UN really helped me develop. And also just the writing ability. You learn how to be super concise in your resolution writing. You learn that Model UN teaches you that every single word that you use matters, and it really hones in your writing skills, and I think benefits you both in high school, you know, writing essays for classes, outside of school doing like job applications and stuff, and then also preparing you for college, and especially with college essays. I think it's a huge help to it. And then, you know, another is the problem solving ability. I think that is one of the most important skills to have in life, is the ability to, you know, analyze a situation, draw out sort of the key points, and break it down into manageable sizes in like a certain period of time, and sort of have that can-do problem-solving attitude. And I think that is, you know, central to Model UN. When you're in that committee session, you're presented with these huge issues. like the refugee crisis, for example. And they may seem really, really big at first, but then once you sort of break them, Model UN teaches you how to break them down into different parts and how to tackle each aspect of the issue. It really just gets you into like a certain way of thinking that I don't think people who haven't done Model UN before. I just think it's a huge benefit of the program. And then finally, healthy competition and collaboration. I like to put competition and collaboration together because obviously it's really fun to win, and that's a huge aspect of Model UN is winning the awards, and who doesn't like to win awards? But it's also about collaboration. And oftentimes the delegates who are winning the best awards are the ones who are collaborating the most and are the best team players, rather than people who, sort of are disregarding what other people are saying, not really listening to them, doing their own thing. And I think it, at the end of the day, it's Model UN for a reason, and the United Nations is a body that really values collaboration. And I think, it's just one more thing that you learn. And then finally, I've talked about this a little bit, but preparation for college. I don't think I would be where I am today if I did not do Model UN in high school. So when I started high school, and I think a lot of students face this like dilemma, there are a bunch of different clubs that you can join. Often there's a Model UN club, there's a debate club, sometimes there's like Model Congress or other clubs of the sort. Ethics Bowl. Those were all clubs in my high school. And I sort of tried out everything, but I am really, really happy that I stuck with Model UN because it combines, my passion for international relations and just current events in the world with all of these like hard skills that I think, set you up for success later in high school and college and in life. It shows you like how to engage with global issues with people that, might not agree with you. And you really get to meet a ton of people. And I also think at a really basic level, it teaches you how to like talk about issues that you will be talking about for the rest of your life. And I say this like in conversation, at the dinner table, if you're trying to have a conversation with someone and you need to know what you're talking about, I find myself like time and time again referencing things that I learned in Model UN. And so I can't stress enough like how great the activity as a whole is. Now, I think before I get into like the Yale conference, I think in terms of like I didn't know about PLE when I was in middle school. I wish I did, because I did Model UN for 4 years, and if I had done it for two years before that, I think it would have just been that much more beneficial. In my mind, one of the biggest benefits from doing Model UN through PLE is that you're learning from coaches who are involved in either the competition teams on this conference, chairing the conference, or actually running the conference. And that's sort of where I'll segue into the Yale Model United Nations Conference, which I've dedicated maybe like 3 years of my life to. They've been great 3 years, but it takes a village to put on some of these conferences. So for perspective, YMUN is YMUN. We call it YMUN. Some people, sometimes it's confusing. And people are like, what did you just say? It's like, so YMUN. It's the largest Model UN conference on a college campus in the United States. We are very proud of that title. Each year we attract around, I think my year we attract around 2,000 delegates. It's a lot of people from around the world, from so many different countries across the United States. You cannot find like a more diverse group, interesting group of individuals. And at YMUN, I was continuously impressed. So for context, I was the Director General of Committees. I oversaw our 40 plus committees. And then within each of those committees, there are college students who chair the conferences. So like Desiree mentioned, she at Harvard is chairing for the WHO. And so I was continuously impressed by students from PLE. And actually, before I joined PLE as a coach, I kept making like the conscious relationship. I was like, oh, these delegates are really impressive. I'm watching in this room. I wonder what school they're from. And I would go back and it would be PLE. And I was like, okay. So that sort of just like put it on my radar. And I think that being able to be prepared by coaches who know these conferences just make them that much more enjoyable for you. I think it's one thing learning in high school how to do Model UN from like a history teacher, and they're really great. You know, my coach in Model UN was my history teacher, and she was wonderful, but they don't necessarily know how the system works. And there's no one else who knows the system better than I think the people who are running the conference. So I think that is like a huge added benefit from PLE. And so YMUN specifically, which PLE obviously sends students to, have really interesting conferences. I won't go through every single one of these. I think you can like look at them as I'm talking. But you know, anywhere from nuclear disarmament, European Commission, you know, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. There are also a lot of tech committees, and I think this reflects a huge aspect pro of Model UN is that when people sometimes think about Model UN, they immediately associate it with humanities, the social sciences, which, you know, a lot of the reading and writing and public speaking is related to that. But it is a place where, regardless of your background or your interests, like you can find something that is really cool. So if you're really interested in technology and STEM, but you want to, you know, experience public speaking and improve your writing skills, this is, you know, the activity for you. There are so many different committees that deal with the intersection of like foreign policy and technology, and also, yeah, like science and medicine and health. But then also at the same time, if you're like a political junkie and you love, you know, American politics or the American legal system, you know, there are legal committees. And then like Desiree showed earlier, there are historical committees where you can engage with, you know, some of the most famous crises of history. You can go back in time and simulate sort of, you know, what you would have done if you were X person who, you know, had a certain stake in the conflict. And so there's just so many opportunities within Model UN itself. You know, Model UN as a baseline is excellent, but once you go even further, there's just so many things like you can unlock. And I really credit it with, you know, making me who I am today. I think like professionally in college, it's allowed me to like hone my interests and really, you know, decide what I really wanted to do. And I think I just have brought all those skills with me, and I'm really, really appreciative for it. And so here's just another example of like the really cool committees that you can engage in, like, you know, re-election presidential campaign for Nixon, but also, you know, you could be a Greek god and be on the Council of Olympus. So a lot of it, you know, a lot of it is serious, and these are really big international issues, but a lot of it is also fun. And there's something for literally everyone in Model UN. And then also at Yale, at YMUN, we have an essay contest. And I think, I'm not sure if HMUN has this, but I think it's what sets Yale Model UN conference apart, because we really, really like to stress the learning and leading aspect of our conference. We have a motto, like you can see here, is learn today and lead tomorrow. And we really want to help our delegates not only like learn the tools of Model UN and everything that I mentioned before, but also how to like employ them in everyday lives and use them to like move yourself forward and improve the world, basically. And so in our essay contest, we really like to see all the submissions from our delegates who write on like all these, you know, different issues. And this is the topic from last year. The conference is in January of 2023. So all of these will look a little bit different, but usually they're like pretty similar and in line. And so that is sort of my general introduction of YMUN. Let me just see if I've missed anything. Yeah, I think that is like my overview. I, you know, could talk about YMUN for so long just because I've been doing it for so long. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to use the raise hand function, or you can just send an email to the email Desiree showed earlier as well. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, and Cameron. And just want to answer the question, possibly, and the audience have. HMUN do have the essay contest, same as YMUN. So we attend both HMUN, YMUN, also the conference from hosted by Columbia University, Princeton University, George Washington University, and Michigan State University. Yeah, we got a lot of achievement from all. We got achievement from all the above conference we attend. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Dawn, do you want me to go into the speaking activity now, or?
Yeah. You are the host.
Okay.
You make a decision. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Well, okay, I have a treat prepared for everyone if you all are up for it. So basically, as you could tell from a lot of the Model UN classes that we kind of skimmed through, is that we typically start off with some kind of public speaking class, or just a class where you can practice your impromptu speaking, your prepared speech skills, and different things like that. And so I have a little slide deck prepared, and it has a little bit about, it's supposed to simulate kind of what a first class may look like, just kind of shortened and condensed, obviously. And so it's going to go over kind of speaking, and then also public speaking, and then also some exercises that I typically do with my middle school students. But yeah, I hope everybody is like excited for their speaking skills today, which I know is like, I feel like when I was in high school, I always thought it was so nerve-wracking to give us, even in college, honestly, so nerve-wracking to speak in front of a room and to give a speech. But I think this is a good chance to kind of get a taste, a little bit of what some of the skills you'll learn in our classes, kind of what Model UN, part of a very small part, but a part of Model UN is kind of about, and the skills that you'll develop in a very low stakes situation. I'd like to emphasize, like, I feel like, anything you mess up in this room, and I don't really think it goes anywhere. So this is a very good atmosphere, and I think place to kind of develop your skills. So yeah, this is my fun activity, looking into the art of speaking. So I'm going to give a quick kind of like introduction to public speaking that I typically would give at like a first class for my middle school students. And then I have activities kind of scattered throughout for the people on the Zoom call, should they wish to, give it a try. So anyways, again, that's me. Oh, some stuff I didn't mention earlier that I was realizing as Cameron was speaking was probably my like Model UN experience outside of competing. So yes, I do direct at HMUN China, but I also am a director for HMUN India and HNMUN Latin America. So I'm going to Panama and India this summer to go and direct, which is going to be very fun. I'm the Undersecretary General for the General Assembly at HNMUN, which is Harvard's college conference. So I manage all of the General Assembly committees, and I'm a crisis director for HMUN. So if you are going to compete at HMUN this year, so not HMUN China, but just our normal like Boston conference, I will be a crisis director for one of the crisis committees. So that's fun. But yeah, I realize I have dedicated a lot of my life to Model UN. And by a lot of my life, I mean like a majority of the past 2 years of my life. It's been a great ride. So yes. I kind of want the people on the Zoom call first, get to know each other. I know a lot of this has been like me talking at you, Cameron talking at you, like learning and absorbing a lot of information. But it'd be really nice to kind of meet the people in this room and get to know you. It's not really a class, it's just the call. So anybody who wants to, can just like unmute or I guess raise your hand first, but raise your hand, I'll call on you. You can unmute, maybe introduce yourself, say your name and like a fun fact, if you'd like, for us to get acquainted with one another. Is there anyone who would like to introduce themselves? No, it's a chance to be known by all of us. And so it's okay also if not. But I mean, I can give a fun fact about myself and maybe that'll spur a fun fact from all of you. So let's see here. Again, name is Desiree. A fun fact about myself is when I was younger, I watched Finding Nemo 500 times, legitimately, because I forgot it was the same movie. So my parents bought like the DVD, they put it in the DVD player, it was on repeat, and I watched that movie for an entire year, at least 3 times a day. So probably well over 500, but I'm going to cap it at 500. And one day I was like, Mom, this looks like the same fish that lost its dad. And Mom was like, no, it's not the same fish. And then I was like, no, Mom, I'm pretty sure it's still Nemo. And that was the saddest day of my family's history because we had to buy cable. So that's one of my favorite stories to tell because I just think it's very funny. But yeah, that's a fun fact about myself. Is there anybody who's like a brave soul who'd like to say their name and a fun fact? Okay, I'll just move on. If anybody has one later though, please raise your hand if you discover a fun fact about yourself and you'd like to share. I'm all ears. People always have very interesting things to say. Even if you don't have anything interesting to say, still very interested. So I guess the first thing I'll kind of go into is you might be like, oh, Desiree, why is public speaking important? Which, might seem like a very basic question, but it's okay. We'll cover it anyways. So public speaking is important, not even just inside the realm of Model UN. Obviously in Model UN, public speaking is a big component. You have to be able to effectively convey your ideas to the other people you're competing with, to your chair, to the people who are judging you and things like that. But also just in your everyday life, really public speaking is such an integral part. It's the conversations you have with other people. It's the moments you have to give a presentation to your class. It's the moments you just have to try and effectively convey some sort of idea or what you're thinking or some anything really to other people. And so public speaking has got to be if you ask me what I think the most important skill to have in life is, public speaking might just be up there because I think you really do apply it just about every day. And it's just something that if you're a good public speaker, all I can say is anytime I see someone deliver a very effective speech, or at the end of some TED talk I watch on YouTube, I start crying. I'm like, wow, that is a great speaker. And it's a very impressive skill to have. So public speaking just in general, very, very important for everybody. So yes, I like to think 3 real elements of public speaking. Obviously, there's a lot of little subcategories, but I think the 3 big things for public speaking are, you might have seen these from your English teacher talking about essays, but ethos, pathos, logos is really what I think you can divide public speaking up into. And so ethos is just the credibility of your argument. Are you an expert source? Are you an authority figure? So for example, let's say I'm coughing my lungs out and I ask my friends, oh my gosh, I think something's wrong. Obviously my friends are gonna look at me and be like, oh yeah, maybe you have a cold or something. And I'll be like, okay, yeah, maybe a cold. But if I go to a doctor and the doctor's like, oh, you have a cold, I'm much more certain. I'm like, yes, I have a cold. I'm not just that I might have a cold, but I do have a cold, because I trust the doctor and their experience and their authority. And so they have a lot of ethos. They have a lot of credibility in what they're telling me. And so a lot of what makes you a really good speaker is over time, and this is something that you can't just get in a day, but over time, basically you'll build up credibility as a person in whatever working area that you're in. And so ethos is a big part of public speaking, but also pathos, which is emotional appeal in an argument. So it's those TED Talks that make me cry. Is the situation sad? Are there hopeful outcomes, or is there any action that people need to take? Is there some sort of emotional response that you're trying to get from people? So I think this is really important because in our daily lives, when we're talking to other people, we're looking, especially our friends, we're looking for some sort of emotional reaction, right? So let's say you failed a test and you're talking to your friend about it and you're like, I studied so hard, but I just didn't get the score that I wanted. You're looking for kind of an emotional response from your friend to be like, oh, that's too bad. You'll do better next time or something like that. And so we practice pathos a lot in our daily lives, but in terms of public speaking and kind of really being able to sway the emotions of a crowd, it's very important. You see from presidential inauguration speeches, you'll see from just any big speech that you kind of see on TV, a lot of them are aimed at pathos. It's okay, how am I going to sway someone's emotions to a specific way that may benefit me? And so pathos, very important. Logos also, finally, the logic in an argument. So you'll see this just on daily news broadcasts. You'll see this just in class, your teacher's talking to you. So it's the logic in an argument. It's the facts, data, statistics. Does your argument fundamentally make sense? Does what you're saying, is it doing everything it needs to do, basically, to be understood by the person you're talking to? And so that's also a really important part of any speech. And obviously not all speeches have to have all 3 things. You don't always have to be looking for some kind of emotional response from someone. Maybe the goal of a speech isn't to give any facts, data, or statistics, but these are 3, I think, basic things that kind of go into most speeches. Is the person credible? Is what they're saying moving me in some sort of direction? And is what they're saying making sense, essentially? And so that's 3 things you should look at when you're public speaking. And so next, I'm just kind of going to go into some tips, general tips for public speaking. that I don't always practice and exercise, but I do try and keep in the back of my head. And I think a lot of other people do too, as they try to improve their public speaking skills. So one is to over enunciate your words, right? So you can't really convey any sort of message if people don't understand you. So I think over enunciation is better than not enunciating at all. So you want to over enunciate your words. I think something that a lot of people unconsciously do, or subconsciously do, but don't really think about, is focusing on people who are visibly engaged with your speech when you're speaking and who are positively interacting with you. So like if I'm in a room and I'm giving a speech in front of my class, I'm going to focus on the student who's kind of like nodding along, who really looks like they're paying attention, in order to fuel myself and be like, okay, people understand what I'm saying. I'm doing a good job. I can keep speaking, that sort of thing. You don't want to focus on people who aren't really paying attention to your speech, because then you'll be like, is what I'm saying making sense? Is what I'm saying really important? So it's always important to, especially if you're someone who has a harder time, like keeping that motivation going, keeping yourself like, I can do this, like I'm doing great. Focus on people who are nodding along and who seem to be really engaged with what you're saying. Another really important thing for public speaking is just speaking with inflection. So no one likes that teacher in high school that speaks in the monotone voice, right? The one that's like a robot. Everybody complains about that teacher. They're like, oh, I fell asleep in this class again because I just could not pay attention. I could not focus, because the teachers basically spoke like this. You don't want to speak like that. You want inflection. You want to be exciting. You want to have your tone go up and down, and obviously depending on what you're saying. And so that's a really key point and part of being able to effectively convey whatever message you are trying to convey. Something I struggle with a lot, that a lot of people I think also struggle with, is speaking slower. So when we get nervous, we talk really quickly. I speak quickly, not even when I'm nervous, just in my day-to-day life. I can ensure you, I am a very fast speaker, and there's no real reason for it, except that's my personality. But it's always good to have in the back of your mind being like, okay, I'm really excited. Maybe you're in a Model UN committee and you have this great idea that no one's talked about yet. And you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited to share this and, hopefully get this as a moderated caucus or anything like that. But you're speaking way too quickly and people just have a hard time understanding you. And when people have a hard time understanding, people just tend to stop trying to understand, and they just nod along and they're like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And so it's remembering to speak a little bit slower when you give speeches. So that's also a really key point that people, I think, know, but tend to forget as they're giving important speeches. Channeling your nervous energy into excitement. So if you're a bit of an extrovert, or not an extrovert, I guess both. If you're an extrovert and you're excited to give your speech, or if you're an introvert and you're very nervous, just remembering, channel that energy for positive use. Be like, okay, I'm basically I'm so nervous, my hands are shaking. Whenever that happened to me, I just told myself, Desiree, it's okay. You're shaking because you're excited. I definitely was not excited. I was definitely nervous, but just being like, you know what, I'm excited. I have a really nice message to convey and I can't wait to engage with other people. So remembering to do that, and then using your voice and your hands effectively. Something I think a lot of people know but don't do is channeling your voice, being basically, I don't even know. Actually, I don't have a great way to explain this other than when you speak, always aim for the back of the room. That's what I tell people. If you're speaking, don't speak just to the row that's right in front of you. Make sure you're projecting your voice and that everybody can hear you. You're loud and clear. I think in committee, if any of you have any Model UN experience, or actually, this is very universal. When someone's speaking and they're very quiet and it's hard to hear them, it's easy to get really lost in your train of thought or to be thinking about something else. When someone comes up and they give a speech and they're very either excited, but they're projecting their voice, right? Those kinds of people really take command of a room, and people tend to notice them. And people who are looking down at their phones or doing something else will snap back into reality and be like, oh my God, who's this person speaking, right? Because they're projecting their voice. That's a lot of being able to use your voice effectively. And that catches the attention of a lot of people. And then also using your hands to speak. I think it's interesting when people speak with their hands. I tend to speak with my hands a lot. Speaking with your hands catches people's attention. And so I think that's a really good part of public speaking. Let's see. And my last two kind of tips for public speaking is, on the slide previously, we were right, yes, focus on people who are visibly engaged with you during your speech, people who are positively interacting with you. On the other side of that, be sure to actively listen to whoever's speaking. And I think this is important in your day-to-day life. It's important in Model UN committees, but you'll notice if you compete that when you're speaking, there's not many people that are visibly engaged with you. You'll be giving whatever kind of speech in Model UN or whatever kind of presentation to a class, and there's people nodding off, there's people not really focused doing something else. And it's a bit discouraging, but people tend to remember the one person who's listening, or whoever this group may be, people who are looking at you, who are smiling, who are nodding along. These are the types of people that people tend to remember, and who also help the people who are speaking. So just as you may in any part of your life focus on people who are positively interacting with your speeches, be sure to actively listen to those who are speaking, because I guarantee you the people who are speaking will remember you in a positive light, or will subconsciously have a more positive image of you, because they're like, oh, this person was really listening to what I was saying. It might be more receptive towards you in the future. So it's really good. And it's just like, it's a good thing to do. So just always be an active listener. And finally, you know, the most, I think, like overused tip and thing that people always say, but it's 100% true, is just to be confident in yourself, right? Regardless of whether or not you're like, you know, you might be sitting here like, oh, it's a subpar speech that I have prepared. Doesn't matter. You're going to give that speech like it's the best speech in the world, right? You just need to be confident. And one of my favorite phrases in high school was fake it till you make it. I still don't know if I've made it, but it's okay. Still faking it. We're doing great. So just be confident in anything that you're saying. And I promise you, a lot of people will believe you regardless of what you say, just because you say it confidently. So just always keep that in the back of your mind. There's always going to be people who follow along. So this leads me to my first exercise, 1 minute of nonstop chatter. So this is an exercise I did in high school, kind of to get used to public speaking and things like that. Oh, and Cameron had to leave. I think he's already gone, but bye, Cameron. Yeah, be sure to reach out to him if you have any questions. Anyways, so 1 minute of nonstop chatter. Basically, the point of this exercise is to learn how to give impromptu speeches about any sort of topic. So the way I would practice this in high school is I would go on websites. I'd be like, you know, common debate topics, or like common Model UN topics. I'd pick a topic at random. I'd close my eyes. I'd scroll through the webpage. I just kind of like highlight something. And then I'd give a 1 minute speech over that topic. I'd be like, okay, like, you know, yeah, I'd be like, okay, maybe the topic is something very simple, like what's better, cats or dogs? Okay, 1 minute. You're not allowed to stop talking. You're not allowed to say words like, like. It's just 1 minute of cohesive kind of thought into whatever topic it is. And so I think it's really good for learning how to think on your feet, learning how to come up with points quickly and different things like that. So it's an exercise I really like to do with a lot of my classes, because it's just good. It's good for content. It's good for learning public speaking. It's good for practicing. So that's kind of one of the activities I have prepared. So 1 minute of nonstop chatter. Is there any brave soul who would like to volunteer to go first? I will give you, I promise these will be easy topics, and I just want to hear like a minute of your thoughts on the topic. You got to make this open house engaging, people. Trust me, like, it'll be great. Also, I'm here to give advice and offer like feedback if you would like. So think of this as like free feedback from a Harvard student on your speaking skills. So maybe anybody be willing? This isn't a class, so I don't want to like cold call. Dong, should I just keep going with my presentation, or should I?
Yeah, you are the teacher. You make a decision.
Okay. I mean, is it okay for me to cold call people, even though it's like an open house? I don't want to.
I do not know, because most of the audience, I do not know.
Okay. Let's see. I will ask. How's that? How about, you know, Alyssa looks like a familiar kind of name. Would you like to participate in our 1 minute of nonstop chatter?
Sure.
Oh my God, yes. Okay. Thank you. That's exciting. Okay. let's see here. What's a common topic I typically do? So I guess let's just go ahead and go with the topic of should schools mandate uniforms? You know, that's a common topic I see come up, not really in Model UN, but just kind of in debate in general. Should schools have uniform policies? So I'll give you like 30 seconds to think about it because I don't want to make you like speak on the spot. And then if you want to give me like a minute presentation over what you think, should schools have uniform policies? So 30 seconds. Well, I'll give Alyssa a little bit of silence to think about it. And you can also just let me know when you're ready. Okay, that was like around 30 seconds. I was kind of just timing it in my head. Alyssa, are you ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. Spotlight's yours. You have a minute. Uniform policies.
Okay, my time starts now. So my school does have a uniform, and we do have many policies for them where the school has certain shirts you can wear and certain pants you can wear. All they have their own website too, so you can like purchase this. Sorry. So the policies that they have are certain. I'll talk about the pros and cons later, but certain policies they have is that you have to wear a belt with all your pants. You have to have this the designated school colors, and there are only specific colors of skirts and shirts that you can wear. You also have to tuck in your shirts at all times. So the pros and cons of this would be, I know some of the kids at my school are a little bit like, well, some kids at my school don't like this policy where you have to like tuck in your shirt or you have to put a belt on. And so many kids get dress coded. And since many kids don't think too much about this little stuff in the handbook, there are many recess detentions given out to these people who do break dress code. So the pros and cons is that was one of the cons, as in there there's a lot of kids being like punished for this kind of stuff. But I see as a pro, many kids don't have to worry about what they're wearing, so it does save some time in the morning picking out like an outfit or something. So
Yeah.
on the topic as if schools should have uniforms, I guess it really depends on what they're feeling. I believe no, they don't have to, but obviously there should be regulations like no offensive language, no like I guess nothing that's like tank tops or like that kind of stuff. Um, so no, schools don't need to have a uniform, but yes, they should have some sort of regulation on what students can wear.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alyssa. Everyone, we should give her a little round of applause. Brave first kind of volunteer. So thank you so much. I let you go past a minute just because I wanted to hear like the full length of your argument. But wait, okay. Two things. One, do you want to just quickly, just so I like know you, do you want to introduce yourself? Maybe tell me a fun fact about yourself or just like really anything that you wish to share.
Sure. So I'm Alyssa. I'm in the 7th grade, and well, I've done a lot of Model UN courses before, so yeah.
Awesome. Have I had you in one of my classes before? Just out of curiosity.
I think so.
Okay, I thought so too. Your name looked really familiar, which is why I kind of went for you. But okay, awesome. So Alyssa, thank you so much for going. Let's see here. General things for, I guess, this specific activity is obviously it's hard to keep a minute, like I guess a speech in a minute or less, right? And so a lot of times we have a lot more to say than whatever amount of time we are allocated. So just me harping about the benefits of Model UN again, it's really good because it helps you learn how to kind of construct speeches within a certain time frame that effectively convey your ideas and, you know, learn how to cut things that might not be as important out in whatever specific amount of time that you have. So I really liked a lot of the points you touched up on. Obviously, it went over a minute because I just wanted to hear it. But in Model UN, you would learn how to kind of like condense those things and really get through the main points all at once. So thank you so much, Lissa. Let's see. Who else? Who will be, as I say in my class, who will be my next victim for calling? Of course, you don't have to go if you don't want to go, but is there anyone who'd like to volunteer to go next before I ask people if they're available? Okay, no volunteers. That's my favorite type of thing. Let's do, I see a Michael in the crowd. Michael, would you be interested in doing a minute of nonstop chatter?
Oh, sure.
Oh my God, amazing. Okay, I will give you, do you like serious or silly topics?
I'll go with silly.
Silly, okay, awesome. Let's do, have you heard of, is cereal a soup? It's a topic I used to talk about with people. Honestly, I actually don't know what time period it was, but I remember we always had a laugh when we argued about it. So I'm gonna give you 30 seconds to kind of think about that. Is cereal a soup, technically? And then I'll let you kind of take it away with whatever your argument is. So 30 seconds of silence for Michael. Awesome. So that's 30 seconds. Michael, are you ready?
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Give me a minute of whether or not cereal is a soup.
So there's a debate raging on right now about whether cereal is a soup or not, but personally, I don't think it's a soup. Well, it all depends on the definition because cereal can either be the thing in the box or the thing in your milk. And so those two are very different things because one of them is definitely not a soup and the other one is like a maybe. And so let's say we're just talking about the cereal and the milk. Now, we probably wouldn't consider milk a soup either because a soup is something with a lot of ingredients that's just not one plain thing like milk or water or juice or whatever. So it has a lot of stuff and it also has like a weird, it has like a special taste to it, unlike milk. And I don't really drink cereal that often, but when I do, it sort of tastes the same as the milk. No offense to the Lucky Charm lovers and stuff, but they sort of taste like bricks and all. So I mean, it doesn't really change the flavor too much. So I would still say that cereal is not a soup, but you know, other people can view it from other standpoints. Is that a minute?
It was a little bit over a minute. Like, so I'm letting people kind of go over just to hear what they have to say. But I really liked that you addressed kind of both sides of the arguments. That was really good. One of the things that really helps when people give speeches is especially in like Model UN or debate, classic debate, always put your opinion at the very beginning of the speech, right? So, for example, if I was going, I'd be like, my opening sentence would be either I think cereal is a soup or I don't think cereal is a soup. And then you kind of go into the rest of your speech on why yes or why not. So that's one of the things that helps people stay focused during speeches and really helps with organizations. That's my tip kind of for everyone. But that was really good. Cereal is not a soup speech. So I'm glad. Do you want to introduce yourself really quickly?
Sure. I'm Michael. I'm an eighth grader at Princeton Day School, and I don't
Awesome.
really eat cereal.
Okay. That's a great fun fact. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Michael. That was very good. Let's see. Who else can I do? How about I see someone Justin, are you volunteering?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. We'll do this in the correct order. Why don't you introduce yourself first and then I'll give you a topic.
Okay. My name is Justin, and I'm in 6th grade. I go to Princeton Academy, and a fun fact about myself is I have played 4 instruments:
Oh, really? What 4 instruments? Out of curiosity.
violin, viola, piano, and guitar.
That is very cool. I can play the saxophone. That's all I have to say for myself, just the saxophone. But that's really awesome, Justin. Do you prefer a silly topic or a serious topic?
Serious.
He said serious. Okay, okay. Let me see here. So I don't have one off the top of my head, but really quickly I can just search up debate topics and I will have one very soon.
If it's convenient for you, you can do a silly topic.
Also, here we go. Let's do this. Oh, okay. Okay. How about something that I had to debate, I think in high school, are violent video games appropriate entertainment for teenagers? Do you like that topic or should I try a different one?
A different one, please.
Okay, a different one. How about are private schools better than public schools? Or a different one?
I think that one's good.
Okay, so are private schools better than public schools? That will be your topic. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to kind of think about it and what you want to say, and then you'll have a minute or more to give your speech. So, 30 seconds, silence. Okay, that is 30 seconds. Are you ready to give your 1-ish minute speech?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's hear it.
Okay, so I will state some reasons why public schools are better than private schools, and some reasons why private schools are better than public schools. So in private schools, there is a higher degree of safety because there are less students and the level of supervision is higher. And this can allow misbehavior to caught quicker than public schools. So the students will have a greater level of responsibility, and they'll know how to behave well. Many private schools also make an effort to being a community in addition to an educational environment, and will create closer bonds with the students and the teachers. But in public schools, even though there are more students, the cost to go to public schools is lower than private schools, and it is easier for the family to afford. And also, there's a greater sense of you can create more friends in public schools because there are more options who you want to be friends with.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. And out of curiosity, do you go to a public or a private school?
I go to a private school.
You go to a private school. I was going to say, I think you had a lot of really good substantive points. So there was a lot of good content inside of your speech, which I really liked. And things I didn't really think about for private schools. So I kind of figured, I was like, I really never considered this. Maybe he goes to a private school. So awesome. Thank you so much for going. Okay, so that was really good. Let's see here. Anybody else want to take a stab at, especially now that I have my debate topics list opened up lots and lots of topics, too many topics for the people in this room, but that's fine. Does anyone want to volunteer to go next? the deathly hand of me calling people is going to happen. We have a Kenny on the call. Kenny, would you be interested in trying out our exercise?
Sure.
Awesome. Okay. First, why don't you give us a quick introduction and then tell me if you want a silly or a serious topic.
Hi, my name is Kenny, and I'm currently in 7th grade going to Chandler School.
Awesome. Okay. And do you want a serious or a silly topic?
I'll take a silly one.
A silly one? Okay. How about, let's see here. Does a straw have one hole or two holes? How's that topic? Or do you want a different one?
Can I have a different one, please?
Of course. How about is a hot dog a sandwich or something different?
That's good.
Okay. Your topic's going to be whether or not a hot dog can be classified as a sandwich. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think about it, and then you'll have a minute or more to give your speech. So 30 seconds. Okay, awesome. That was 30 seconds. Kenny, are you ready?
Yep. All right.
Awesome. You have a minute. Tell me, is a hot dog a sandwich?
With the hot dog being a staple of the American food diet, it is important for people to understand. Is the hot dog a sandwich or something else? And my answer to this question is a clear yes. Because first of all, what is a sandwich? A sandwich is anything between two pieces of bread, which a hot dog fits. With the hot dog, you can put anything in there, although it is more common to put, well, a sausage in there, as that's more common. However, a hot dog doesn't necessarily need to be a sausage in there. It can be whatever you want. You can put hamburger meat in there and call it a hot dog. You can put pickles in there. It can be whatever you want. It offers the same creativity a sandwich can, which is why a hot dog is classified as a sandwich, as a hot dog can be anything between two slabs of bread, just like a sandwich. So with a hot dog having all the characteristics a sandwich has, there's no reason to assume that a hot dog isn't a sandwich. Thank you.
Okay, wow. It makes me, did you have your own timer by chance? Because that was like exactly 1 minute.
Yeah, I pulled up a stopwatch.
Okay, wow. Okay, perfect. So I really liked that. I think you had a good like kind of hook to your speech, the American staple, right? And you gave your opinion on what the topic, like what the answer to the question was at the very beginning, which I think was really good. I also like the enthusiasm. I think you spoke a little bit quickly, but honestly, I mean, it was good. You've convinced me a hot dog is a sandwich. I will tell people from now on, I'll be like, I want the sandwich that is called the hot dog for all my future days. So thank you very much. Awesome. Let's go. How about Leon? Would you be interested in partaking in our chatter?
Sure.
Oh my God, yes. Awesome. Do you want give us a introduction about yourself and then whether you want a silly or a serious topic?
My name is Leon. I go to Maple School. You guys probably don't know where that is. And my parents made me be here, but I'm fine. I'm fine to stick around. I prefer any topic.
He goes any topic. Okay, awesome. I'll just give you one of the random debate topics they have, and you can tell me if you want to keep it or if you want to change it. But very nice to meet you, Leon. How about oh, I'm trying to see if there's something a little bit more. Ooh. Okay. How about is artificial intelligence, so that's like AI, like robots, dangerous? Like, is the growth of artificial intelligence dangerous? Do you like that topic, or do you want me to pick a different one?
Sure. I can go with that.
Okay. So your topic's going to be like, is AI, artificial intelligence, dangerous? So think of movies like The Terminator, or like, honestly, I feel like there's been a lot of movies about like technology, like dystopian societies based off the development of AI. So just think about stuff like that. Is AI dangerous? And you'll have 30 seconds to think about it.
Uh,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. You can go whenever.
All right. So artificial intelligence right now is not a threat to humanity at all, but in the future, it definitely could be. Right now, artificial intelligence is barely even artificial intelligence. Right now, artificial intelligence is like artificial intelligence can barely function by itself. It could barely learn, and it needs human code to essentially survive. But if we manage to make actual artificial intelligence where the the robots or anything could learn by themselves, that is perhaps something that could be very dangerous. And right now, it probably still can be dangerous if it falls into the wrong hands, as we have seen like lethal autonomous weapons. Those can be coded to destroy, but I don't think we are advanced enough to create that dangerous of a weapon. So artificial intelligence isn't dangerous now, but it could be dangerous.
Okay, so what I really liked is that you started off with like your opinion, right? It's like not dangerous now, but it could be in the future. I like that you started and ended with that, right? It's like a nice kind of full circle speech, and it really leaves the audience with like, they know what your opinion is, they know kind of your stance, which is really good. I also like that you filled up the entirety of the time. So you did go over a minute, but that's fine. So like you spoke during the entire time, so you had a lot of good content. I would say the only thing is, remembering to avoid words like that, those kind of like filler words, I think distract from the main point. But I think like everybody who's spoken so far has used those words. I just haven't commented on it yet. But other than that, I think you have a really good like start to being able to develop really like your speech structure was really good. So the organization was really good. So thank you, Leon. Let's see here. What about Joe? Joe, would you like to give a speech? I feel like a kid at Disney World, like waiting in anticipation. Okay, maybe not Joe. What about Hella Man? Is that your name? Okay, maybe I've missed both of these people. That's fine. I've mispronounced everything. It's fine. We're doing great. Okay, well, we only have about 8 minutes left. So actually, why don't I go into, so first of all, let's just talk about why this kind of exercise is important for students. So this is like the very beginning, like basics of kind of like public speaking. And this is being able to dip your toes into the water and really learn what it's like to, first of all, speak in front of a group of people you may not know, right? So I'm assuming all of you don't really know each other. So being able to talk in front of a room of strangers and being able to fill up space kind of with words. And so a really important part of Model UN is being able to make things fit into whatever time constraints you have. So be it a minute, be it 45 seconds, be it 30 seconds. So these are the most common types of speech lengths. Being able to come up with a speech on the spot most of the time. Maybe you'll have like 30 seconds to think about it. Like someone's going before you, you have 30 seconds to think about what you're going to say. Being able to deliver a 1-minute speech and use the entirety of that 1 minute and be able to fill it in with content and with whatever message you're trying to convey, whatever opinion you have. So that kind of is a taste of what Model UN is. Obviously, I gave you guys a mixture of silly topics, a mixture of serious topics. Typically in Model UN, I think it's a little bit easier because you know what the topic is beforehand, right? So you'll go into a committee, let's say it's the World Health Organization, like what I'm doing for HMUN China. For my committee, our topic is global, global drug policy. That's what it is. So you're only going to be giving speeches over drug policy and different aspects of drug policy. So I think in that way, Model UN is a little bit easier than this activity, but also I think this activity is really good for getting a grasp of, okay, how do I build a speech in a really short amount of time about whatever random topic has popped up? How do I think on the fly? How do I speak in front of people I don't know? And so hopefully you all got a small taste of kind of what that is. And so hopefully you enjoyed yourselves too. I liked hearing you guys speak. So hopefully it was a little bit of fun. Awesome. So I have a couple more points on like do's and don'ts for your speeches. So especially in Model UN, you want to include facts, statistics, like, you know, something to support your point. So let's say I'm like, or let's say I'm Cameron and I'm like, oh, you know, Yale has the most delegates every year, because that's what he thought. He backed it up with a number, right? He was like, we have about 2,000 delegates that come to conference every year. So I don't want to say I didn't believe him, but I was a little skeptical when he said Yale's the biggest on the circuit. But then he gave me a fact or statistic to back it up, and, you know, his credibility just shot up, and I was like, oh yes, like, okay, sure. Maybe Yale is a bit bigger than Harvard. Don't tell him I conceded to this point. It might inflate his ego, but yes. So you do want to include some figures and statistics in your speech. Especially in Model UN, you're going to be, if you're in the General Assembly, you're going to be representing a country, right? So you could be the delegation of China, you could be the delegation of France, you could be the delegation of the United States. So you do want to mention, like, let's say you're the United States and you're speaking after France and they say something really good. You always, like, you don't want to always mention other people in your speeches, but it's good to mention other countries. Be like, oh, you know, like, I really liked what the delegation of France said about this, because it shows that you're listening to other people, right? You're being an active listener, and that also you're able to build off of other people's points. You can also use it to criticize other people's points. You can be like, you know, as the delegation of the United States, I think what the delegation of France said is not true. And then you can give a whole speech on why you think what they just proposed was a bad policy, right? And so that's a really good thing to do in speeches. Making a new point and adding something to the conversation that hasn't been said yet. So let's say we did this 1 minute activity again, and I had you all of you had like the same topic, right? So let's say I asked you all, is a hot dog a sandwich? And you all had to give me a 1 minute speech on that. It's always good when you're giving a speech, and this happens in Model UN, it's like, you know, the same topic. You don't want to say something someone has already said before. You want to be different. You want to be unique. You want to add something to the conversation that like no one's thought of or no one's put out before. So that's always very important to do. And I think obviously you all had different topics, so it was a little bit easier, but throughout all of your speeches, you mentioned different things. You never repeated the same point twice, and that's a really good and important thing to do. So don't really quickly include too many figures, facts, or statistics in your speech. You know, you lose people. I don't want to hear like a whole, the World Genius like fact book or whatever it was. I used to read it all the time when I was in like middle school and elementary school. Had a bunch of facts. I could never read the entire book in one day because it was just way too many facts and statistics, right? So you always want to limit it to like 1 or 2. Don't insult other people, obviously. And also when you mention other countries, so you're like, oh, you know, the delegation of France, so whoever maybe spoke before you had a really good point on this. You don't want to speak just to agree with other people. You want to be different. You want to stand out, that kind of thing. And so we don't really have time for me to get into all these other like types of speeches and things like that, but just know Model UN is basically almost like the activity I just gave you. It's thinking on your feet about some specific topic and being able to convince people that like, hey, you know, we should have school uniforms, or like a hot dog is a sandwich, or, you know, like private school is better than public school, whatever the topic may be. It's being able to convince other people to see it in your way. And so essentially that is Model UN, except with international relations added in, so foreign policy. So thank you guys so much. I think that's all I really had to say for this open house. I don't know if like Dong or Deborah, you guys have a closing note or anything that you want to say before we let all the students go.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Desiree, and thank you, Cameron. And I just want to see that we have very good and the best Model UN coach for our students, like same as Desiree and Cameron. And they are not only the best coach for MUN, but also they are the real model, academic models for our students. And we also have a teacher like Deborah is certified professional teacher, have many years experience in school and supervise the program. Yeah, thank you for everybody. And for those of you who did not get a chance to attend today's the open house, we will send you the recording and you can watch the replay, especially for people in mainland China and Singapore. There, because of time zone, there's time difference. They're not very convenient to attend today's open house. We're sending you the recording. And also for those of you who did not get a chance to register, I'm going to share the information, the contact information and registration information. And yeah, this is the registration and also the contact information of the PLE MUN program. And I just want to let you know that if you are from local Montgomery Chinese school and also from Philadelphia Northeast Chinese school, and we have partnership, you can register through the Chinese school. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for everybody. And thank you for all the audience and attend today's conference. Today's open house. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Dong. Bye, Deborah. I'll talk to you guys later.
Hi, Desiree. Thank you very much.
Of course.